Hey guys, today we're taking a look at my scrap deck. Now, I've wanted to build scraps for a while, but I wanted to wait until their field card was out, so their archetype would be a bit more rounded out. And if you aren't familiar with scraps, it kind of makes sense in the name. They're all about recycling and kind of, bringing these monsters together to bring out synchros. But yeah, a lot of recycling, a lot of stuff with the graveyard, a lot of resummoning and stuff like that. So they have a lot of really interesting stuff they can do. They have a lot of destruction effects. That's a big part of how they work, and they don't mind destroying themselves in order to activate effects and keep drawing and keep recycling and just keep things going. It's very hard to make them run out of resources because of how they work. So first off, we're running 3 Scrap Chimera, giving us nice ability to recycle and bring out our synchros, and then 3 Scrap Beasts. Like the other ones, when it's destroyed, you're able to recycle those scrap monsters, and it has its effect that it gets destroyed. It's very important to understand the destruction effects for some of the things you're trying to do, allowing you to keep recycling, keep getting cards, and making certain plays with other combos that you have. And then 2 Scrap Orthos. So this one gets special summoned pretty easily when you have other scraps, and you're able to destroy another scrap. So activating effects, and just like other things, you're able to continually recycle those scrap monsters. So it's worth mentioning that these are both level 4 tuners, obviously making the deck very consistent for getting out the monsters that it needs. And then 2 Scrap Golems. So this one's a very nice card, just allowing you to keep special summoning scrap monsters from your graveyard, just making those plays insanely easy to bring out whatever synchros you want. And then we have 2 Scrap Goblin. Very nice that we kind of have a blocker in this deck, allowing us to keep making additional plays and keep recycling and keep bringing out synchros because it's a level 3 tuner. And there's some other interesting stuff you could do with it. Because Scrap Golem can special summon to either side of the field, you could really put the hurt on your opponent. So definitely some interesting stuff you can do. And then we have 1 Granel. So we're going to have a lot of destruction effects in this deck, allowing us to make big plays with this card. Can be very nice. And 1 Redox. Obviously we're going to be doing a lot of graveyard stuff, so you can get easy special summons. And if you want, you could bring him out and make 7-star XYZ plays on top of that. And then 2 Summoner Monk, giving us additional plays. Running a lot of spells in this deck, so I think Summoner Monk can be very useful to bring out what you need. And now for the spells, we're going to be running 3 Scrap Factory. Very nice that we're getting a bit of an attack and defense boost, making our scraps, a bit more in terms of beaters, which is very nice. But the big part is that when scraps get destroyed by card effects, you could special summon scraps. So you're going to have huge advantage when you have this card on the field, kind of like, how windups get their stuff back and some other cards like that. And then 3 Scrapstorm, giving us some draw power, sending things to the graveyard and activating our scrap effects. Very nice. And then 3 Scrapyard, just searching out the scrap tuners, kind of like tuning for Synchron, so very nice. Then 2 MST, 2 Forbidden Lance, can be useful to protect our synchro monsters, but it's definitely a choice. I'm still debating it. 1 Soul Charge, very powerful for this deck. We have a lot of graveyard stuff, so we can make additional plays later on in the duel. 1 Book of Moon, Foolish Burial, again with our graveyard stuff, we want to get something in the graveyard very early on. And 1 Terraforming, the field card can be very important for this deck, so I like having an additional option to get it out. And 1 Dark Hole. And then for the traps, mostly stable traps, not very much to say there. So now for the extra deck, we're going to be running 1 Scrap Archfiend, helping us out with the Scrap Archetype, 1 Ancient Fairy Dragon. Obviously its effect for getting out the field cards and special summoning our level 4 monsters can be very useful. Then Stardust Dragon, Crimson Blader, obviously very useful, 8-star synchros, and then 3 Scrap Dragon, obviously one of the bosses of this deck. This deck has a few bosses, but very powerful with this deck. Obviously a great card overall, but additionally we can get that additional special summon effect. And Scrap Twin Dragon, very similarly, just giving us additional plays. Very nice to bounce nowadays, can be very powerful. And 1 Star Eater, because we do have the levels to get this out, and can be very useful. For the XYZ, 1 Exciton, 1 Diamond Airwolf. Diamond Airwolf, obviously, great choice in this deck. Silent on our Gagaga Cowboy and Dracossack, in case we do get out 2 7-stars. So now for the side deck, if you haven't seen a video of mine before, in the side decks, I just kind of talk about the recommended cards that could be useful for this deck that you guys might want to think about. This isn't meant to be a side deck for matches, so don't try to think of it that way. Just some ideas I'm throwing around for this deck. So Gigantes can be another easy special summon in this deck because we have a lot of earth in the graveyard, so that can be useful. But you don't really want to banish them. Still can be interesting. Gigastone Omega, another really interesting thing that you can do, but I kind of prefer Gigantes for this deck. It depends on what you're trying to do. Level Eater can give you more access to 7-star XYZs and things and certain other synchro plays, so that's an interesting choice. There's other scrap cards, Scrap Kong, Scrap Shark, also really interesting ones to activate scrap effects quickly. So that's up to you. We could obviously do that with our deck on its own, but if you want those additional effects that are out there. Effect Veiler, another way to deal with effects, another way to give us access to synchros. Hands, if you want, you can run any type of like 4-star special summoning engine. So hands, Gravekeeper Spy, other random things out there to make additional plays to get your synchros out. So I've seen people run hands, which is very interesting. There's obviously a lot of other synchros and XYZs you can put in this deck, but I don't really have room for a lot of the ones that I might want. So like Black Rose and some other additional things. So that could be interesting. Scrap Sheen, another interesting support card for scraps that you can use. Pot of Duality, we are doing a bit of special summoning, but can be a choice for some draw power. Monster Reincarnation with a lot of the graveyard sending can be useful. Iris Rock Sunrise could give us easy special summoning in this deck, so that's definitely an interesting choice. I thought about running this, could be a very good card. Supply Unit, when it comes out, could be very useful for this deck because we have a lot of destruction effects, so that'll give us a lot of draw power in the long run. Call the Haunted, debating this, I think Iris Rock Sunrise might be better, but if you want to run Call the Haunted for summoning out like Scrap Dragon and things like that, that can be useful. And Scrap Iron Scarecrow, obviously, kind of with the Scrap Archetype. A lot of stalling cards can be useful for this deck to get out the synchros that you need, so those are some choices that you guys can think about. So that's my scrap deck. Definitely having a lot of fun with it, with its crazy destruction and synchro plays. Definitely takes a bit of getting used to because it has a lot of mixes of tuners and synchros and kind of weird kind of card effects, and you have to really understand how you're recycling and getting things back out. But it can be really good and has a lot of additional plays that it can make, and it's usually not out because of its additional ability to recycle and get things back from the graveyard. But if you guys have your own scrap decks, you can post below, let me know in the comments. Maybe you have some suggestions for the cards I should put in my deck, so definitely would like to hear that. Let me hear about your decks and the cool cards that you're using. But as always, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later.